10 months ago, our family plots looked like this. A sea of black plastic, barely a plant in sight, but lots of opportunity, a real blank slate. Now, 10 months later, it looks like this. Now granted, it's looking a little bit bedraggled in late September. Can't stand under my arches anymore. But because it is nearing the end of the season, and I'm going to start clearing some stuff away now, I thought this was a really good time to do a plot tour. We can capture the plot in its, well, not quite in all its glory, but at least full with everything still in the ground. So I thought we'd have a quick whip round. I'll show you some of the stuff that's going on my plot, but then also give you an update on Mark's and my sister's plot as well. All right, let's start at the front of the plot. I'm just removing this because I can see it was making an imprint on one of the pumpkins that's at the front of the plot. This is the Andean pumpkin. I think there's only one on there, but it was a real late fruiter, and yet the fruit is absolutely huge now. So I'm really impressed with that. Looking forward to harvesting that one. And of course, I've got these ones at the front here. And these are the Atlantic dill, giant Atlantic dills, dills giant Atlantic, that's how you say it. And they are actually ready to harvest. You can see that the stalks have all turned brown and gone dry. They're a lovely colour. And yeah, I'm really pleased to have 3 of those on there, but they are meant to be a giant pumpkin. Clearly they're not, and that's in part because I have left 3 fruits on, so it's had to feed 3 fruits rather than 1 big one. But I didn't really want 1 big one because 3 smaller ones are much more usable in the kitchen, although I'm not quite sure what the flavour is going to be like on this one, so watch this space. And then this one over here is Rouge Oeuf de Tombe. And I thought that was from Maria, a seed from her, but she told me no, she is growing it, but she didn't send me the seed, so somebody else did. So if that's you, let me know. But it's a beautiful little pumpkin. There's only one again, I think. There's also this here, this teeny tiny thing that's going to do nothing, is the fungo. And fungo is one of my absolute favourite squashes. And the funny thing is, I had 2 of these plants, so I gave one to a plot neighbour, and they've got tons of beautiful ripe fruits, and that's what I've got. Sometimes that's just the way it goes. But before I get too distracted by pumpkins, I wanted to say that I'm really pleased with how this front strip of the plot has done. I had the spring bulbs in it in spring, and that was really beautiful. And then I planted the cosmos, there's some pulmonaria, the roses here, sunflowers, apricot stock, calendula, all sorts of things along here, and that weed. But I'll definitely try and do more of that next year as well, because I think it is a really inviting, nice thing to have flowers all along the front of the plot. Now, I do have these flowers also, which are the cup and saucer vine. Obviously, they're supposed to be up here, but they're currently down here. However, always a silver lining, at least now you can actually see the flowers. When they were up on the arch 8 foot in the air, you couldn't really see them. But now, every time I come down here, they're right there for me to see. The lupins as well have been fantastic. I've had no luck with lupins in the home garden because slugs love them, but they've been fine here on the plot. And I think I mentioned in a previous video, although the arches have all collapsed, everything's like growing through them now. And I know it looks a bit of a mess, but it's a kind of beautiful mess. It's a hot mess. Now you might be asking yourself, why have I left the arches like this? Why haven't I tried to tidy this up in some way? And the reason is because there's so much still growing on them, things that are rooted into the ground. And if I start trying to heave these arches out, I'm going to rip things out of the ground, I'm going to knock things about. So I think the best thing is just to leave them as they are, allow the slow collapse, and then when it comes time to harvest all the pumpkins that I hope are in here, and also there's drying beams on these arches as well, then will be the time to be a bit more ruthless. Now, exactly what pumpkins are on here is anyone's guess. I can see some tromboncinos down there. There's one there, which is called No, it's not called Nairobi sugar snaps. Don't know what that one's called. I'm hoping when I get these out that I'll be able to locate the labels and know what my pumpkins are. So there's one here. There's definitely two chicories hidden in there as well. They seem to be doing okay. Where I can, I've got in and put a piece of slate under the pumpkins if they're touching the ground, just to keep them protected. There's one over there which I think is gem roulette, something like that. This one is a cushel, and that's looking quite nice. Not as big as Robin's, who sent me the seed, but still quite a nice looking squash. There's another one down there. So yeah, I can see something over there. There's a few in here. I'm just not sure what and how many at this point. And I can't get out of here without mentioning these, which are the globe artichokes, which look absolutely gorgeous. They're usually buzzing with bees, but we've been having rain and it's a bit of a dull day, which is not the best time to do a plot tour, but hey ho. Got another one over there. So one is purple and one is green. They look exactly the same to me, but they are beautiful, really beautiful. Now, of course, as well as the things on the arches being collapsed over, it has collapsed onto things. It doesn't seem like it's too bad. Some of the sunflowers have knocked over now that we've had these strong winds, but the sunflowers have been incredible, absolutely incredible. I've really enjoyed those this year, and they're lovely multi-headed ones, so they've continued all through the summer, and yeah, just stunning. What I do have here is two really good looking Brussels sprouts. Now, if you've been with me a while, you'll know that Brussels sprouts have been my nemesis. I have yet to harvest Brussels sprouts for Christmas. I think this year might be my year. There are Brussels sprouts dotted all over this plot. I had a load that I'd sown myself. Claire gave me some. A person down the street saw me passing, hailed me over, said, "Do you have an allotment?" and gave me a tray of Brussels sprouts, because that's what happens now. You just get hailed in the street and people give you plants. So yeah, I think this year might be the year. I don't want to speak too soon. I'm going to cross my fingers and I'm going to touch wood. But yeah, if I can get Brussels sprouts for Christmas, I'm going to be super, super happy. Also dotted around the plot are plenty of beetroot and mangel wurzels. And I showed you the mangel wurzel last week. I think these ones might be even larger than the ones down there. They look absolutely incredible. So I'm really excited about harvesting those as well. And I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with them yet, other than taste test them against regular beetroot and see if they really are sweeter and nicer. But you can make mangel wurzel wine, and I've never made wine before. I'm quite intrigued. So yeah, that could be on the horizon for the winter. Now this next bed also has some beetroot. I think that's a Brussels sprout, but these are cabbages. Leeks or onions? Not sure. Have we still got a label? I've got a sign here that says onions ? But they look very leaky to me. I think those are leeks. Those are onions. Those are the Welsh onions. So they're a perennial onion, and I've planted little clusters of those in different beds around the plot. So I'm hoping they will perennialize. Parsnips along here, celeriac along there. I've got that formation in quite a few beds, along with the carrots as well. So these are Amsterdam forcing ones, and the little ones at the front there are the ones that I did late. So we'll see if anything comes of those. Over on the collapsed arch over here, there are beans going through there, and I can see the beans. I think I did Belotti and Cherokee Trail of Tears, which both can be drying beans. These, I think, are Calabos cabbages that have not done well. Whether anything will come of those, we'll see. There's also a bush bean here. What's that one? Red Swan bush bean. Ah, and it's actually got some beans on there. I wonder if that's a dryer. They look quite fat pods, so maybe I will leave those to dry. But, oh, we have a pumpkin. This one, I believe, is Goosebumps. It's a nice gnarly pumpkin, so that one's fine. That's on the wood chip, so should be nice and safe on there. We've got beetroot in that bed, and more celeriac and cosmos, and this is a new addition. This is common mallow, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. I know it's technically a weed, but it grows on one of my plot neighbours' plots, and I asked for a root. And yeah, it's already flowering and it looks beautiful, I think. Now here's the reason I think I'm going to get Brussels sprouts this year, because I have a whole sea of them here. I don't quite know how this happened. I think I just found gaps and stuck things in. There are loads of Brussels sprouts forming on here, but they're teeny tiny plants and they are far too close together. Now in between here, there should be, and actually I can see them, down here are teeny tiny leeks that I have direct sown a few weeks ago, and I didn't think anything had happened, and we had of course all of that super hot weather, and any seedlings you put in the ground were just immediately drying out and dying, but these seem to have pulled through. I don't know what a leek that size is going to do at this point of the year, but they are the winter ones. They were to be sown at that time of year, so yeah, we'll see. So more parsnips, more leeks. In here, obviously, is the birdhouse gourd. Let's check it's still standing or hanging. Yes, looks amazing. Yes, all good. I have not harvested an awful lot of the beans on here. Couple of reasons. Partly it's got swamped by the birdhouse gourd, but also with this hot weather, I just found that the beans went over so quickly, and by the time you were kind of picking them, they were already quite tough. So I thought I shall leave them for seed or drying beans instead this year, and try again next year. The mini brassica cage here, this is the one that I got from Argos for like 20 quid or whatever it was. It's keeping the 9-star broccoli that Ali got me perfectly nice. It has had a little damage from whitefly, but not as much as some of the other brassicas. There is one pixie cabbage left in here, but it doesn't look too good. There's a lot of weeds in here. There's a very beautiful kale, but it's teeny tiny. And of course, we've got more beetroot. But look over here. Now that is a calabash that might actually produce a head. So that's good. This tiny one on the outskirts probably won't. The big brassica cage, still standing, slightly on the squiff. I have had the doors open because I wanted to get air through to hopefully knock some of the whitefly off of these Ruby Crunch Brussels sprouts, which, I mean, it's really taken its toll on those. They look very, very poor plants, but there are Brussels forming, so we shall see. But I got that lovely harvest of kohlrabi from beneath those, so it wasn't an entirely wasted space if we don't get them. This side of the bed. I mean, it's embarrassing what's going on with the weeds in there. I don't know why this bed in particular is as weedy as it is, but one of those weeds is a tomato. I did not plant this tomato in here. It has just appeared. It's self-seeded. There are tomatoes on it. They're shiny. I think we'll get to taste test those before the end of the season. Look well if they're the best tomato of all the ones that I'm tasting this year. The one I didn't grow. So that's 72. I have 72 tomatoes now. And speaking of tomatoes, oh, if we come into the big greenhouse, which is obviously only half glazed, and that's slightly worrying because temperatures are set to plummet next week. But we have tomatoes in here. And what do we have? We have one of the not sun golds. So if you saw last week's video, you will know that this was my favourite orange cherry and a possible replacement for sun gold F1. The irony being this is saved seed from sun gold, but it was absolutely delicious. Let's see if it still is. It's so good. And the reason it is so good is it has so much flavour. It's not just the sweetness. I don't know. I think it's a keeper. I got to try it next year and see if the same tomato comes again, because who knows? Who knows? And the other tomato in here is one I've spoke about before, which is Barry's Crazy Cherry. You see how that's a light yellow? And that lightness is what differentiates it from the plant that I've got in the greenhouse that looks very like Barry's Crazy Cherry. They're slightly smaller and they're a dark yellow. So we shall taste test those against each other. I'll pop it in my pocket for when we get there. Right, what else is in here is aubergines. Now, the ones you can immediately see are these Turkish orange aubergines, but I think we've pretty much decided that they are not that pleasant to eat. They look beautiful. They were very handy for Francis's entry into the horticultural show, but I shan't be growing those again next year. But all the other aubergines, they're actually, being that they've got quite dry in here, are doing brilliantly. I harvested a load the other day, but there are lots more on the check early one. These are the long purple, and there's several on there. That one must be Black Beauty. Yeah, how gorgeous is that? That's almost ready to pick. Now on this side of the greenhouse, I have mainly the fruit trees. So the peach, Bonfire Crimson Peach. This is the nectarine. This is the apricot, I think. And they're establishing really well. I just need to remember to keep them watered over winter. The cucumbers have not been so great in here. I had this one, which was the yard long. Yeah, Armenian yard long cucumber. That put out a load of growth and then promptly died. Oh, this though is cinnamon basil. Oh, it's my favourite basil. It's really nice in tea. I think I just sprinkled some seed about, so I'm pleased to see that. The gherkin ones did okay. And then I was down here the other night, and actually I can show you. I'm just at the plot after work, and I've just seen this in the greenhouse, and I was just picking some of these yellow peppers here. These are Petit Marseille. I don't know if they're supposed to get red, but that's not the thing. I was then looking at these ones, which are doing, oh, amazing, look at those. Waiting for those to turn red because they are candy cane. Oh, they're candy, no, that's not candy cane. That's thingy over. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. What is that? Oh, it's long red Marconi. But it was back here that I saw. Come on. Oh my goodness. The biggest gherkin you've seen in your life. There were actually two. Oh my goodness. I think they're going to be a little bit seedy. So I took those home and I did some more pickled gherkins, although those were a bit big and I thought a bit watery, so I used the other ones that I had got. But yeah, I really liked growing the gherkin variety of cucumbers this year, and I'll definitely do more kind of snack size cucumbers next year. The other thing that's in here is peppers. And as I said in the video, you know, these are doing fantastic. What they really need is some support because the peppers are dragging onto the compost. And although it's quite dry in here, I don't want them to get eaten before they're ripe. And we really are coming against the limit of getting these peppers ripe. Keep your fingers crossed. That one's huge. There's one more thing to show you in here, the herb beds, and again, could not be more pleased with these. And actually, look at this, the cola plant has got seed on it. I didn't know it did that. The cola plant has been lovely. I've had that in water kefir and things. Really like the pineapple sage, always like lemon verbena. There are other things under these are huge plants. There's some thyme and some Corsican mint under there, and rosemary or a lavender, I think. And I've got more lavender on this side, the blackcurrant sage and tarragon. As I come out of the greenhouse, we've got two other pumpkins here. These are the gem roulette or whatever they're called. So there's a couple in there. There might be more. Yes, there's one over there as well, actually. Brilliant. So over on this side, we were here last week, so I won't spend too much time. Obviously, the Cape gooseberries are really taking over. Although, interesting to see, the birdhouse gourd is apparently all the way over here from there now. Oh my goodness. Parsnips, loads of those. The mangel wurzel I showed you. There is another pumpkin down here. I don't think that one has done very much. I feel like the pumpkins have been a real mixed bag this year. I put 50 plants, summer and winter squash, on the allotment, and yeah, I'll be lucky, I think, to get about 20 plants off them. And really, if you're putting 50 plants out, you'd want at least 100 pumpkins, I would say. But oh well, we'll have a rethink for next year. I think it was mostly the weather. This beast is, of course, the marshmallow plant. It's going to seed. Now, a viewer told me that you can pick the seed, treat it just like the root and make marshmallow. I need to Google it to see how you would do that, and the seeds are very small, so I'm not sure. But I have loved this plant. Thank you ever so much to Nick at that British homestead for sending it to me, because it's been such a delight of the plot. And thinking at the beginning of the video about when this plot had nothing in it, this was one of the very first things that went into the ground when I just threw a rock to see where I would plant it. But yeah, and it's been fine here. It was a good spot for it. These are actually calabash cabbages, so I may get a calabash after all. There's another pumpkin. Does it have a pumpkin on? Nobody knows. This is meant to be the mashed potato squash. Oh, it did. I harvested that one and ate it, but I do see another one down there, so we might get another. Parsnips, beetroot. I think when I did my last tour, I found that I was repeating myself a little bit because of the way in which I've done these permaculture beds. So pretty much every bed on this plot has parsnips and beetroot in it. So let's just take that one for granted from now on. Now, just before I move on from this area, I've got to shout out this area, which is the place where I just direct sowed a load of flower seeds that I had mixed together in a jar. I could not be happier with the way that those performed. We've had zinnias, we've had amaranth, we've had cornflowers, coreopsis, so many different flowers in this area, and it looked incredible when the arches were up. It still looks quite incredible now. Yeah, really chuffed with that. And what it's taught me is that I can direct sow on this plot, which I never could have done on the old plot, and I shall be doing a lot more of it next year. I'm just looking over in this direction because I don't think I'd quite realised how mad the nasturtiums had gone, which I love, I'm all for. Now, even if you're a regular viewer of the channel, this will be brand new to you because I have not shown it on the channel at all. I showed the harvesting of the Charlotte potatoes in this bed, which was the experiment bed with the commercial versus the saved, and the saved won. If you didn't see that video, I'll link it at the end. But when those potatoes came out, I had all these lettuce seedlings and chicory seedlings that I put in, and they're doing fairly well. They've got a little bit crushed because I don't know if you remember, there was another huge tree spinach over here, and it kind of fell in those winds and crushed some stuff a bit. There's a remnant of it. But otherwise, yeah, doing pretty well. Loads of weeds have come up. And I guess that's the issue with potatoes in the ground, isn't it? Because it is a disturbing of the ground when you're harvesting them. So the weeds have taken advantage of that. But hopefully it won't compete too much with those lettuces. I've also got some celeries down there. But I still have potatoes on this side. These are the main crop potatoes, the Steester. Now, the issue I had with the Charlottes was some went green because I'd got the rabbin bedding over the top of them, but the sunlight was getting through. Because that happened, I put a load more rabbin bedding on this one, plus that tree spinach that fell over. That's gone on there too, just to try and keep the light out and protect these. But you can see the plants are, I was going to say pretty much, but I think entirely dead now. So these are ready to harvest in the next week or so. And that brings us to the back of the greenhouse. My bed's in front of that, but first I need to show you this. I mean, last week we harvested the first loofah from the home greenhouse, and I've got another one in the polytunnel. But this one, I mean, it was dead. The leaves on the bottom had all died off. Then it had this massive resurgence up here as it came out of the greenhouse. And I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, a big one up there, 5, a weird looking one here, 6. This one that won't do anything, I don't think is pollinated. That is a lot of loofahs in this little clump here. I'm super pleased, and they should definitely be peelers. They should be fine. What I'm worried about is that we are forecast this really quite cold snap next week, and these are obviously growing out of the greenhouse. Let's just keep our fingers crossed. These 6 raised beds, they're made out of pallets. I put them in quite late in the season, but they've been an absolute joy. I've got asparagus and ground cherries in this one. This I had root veg. The carrots are pretty much done. The Florence fennel just bolted, but there's beetroot in there. The oca, The oca looks absolutely fantastic. Maybe not quite as big as last year when it was in the home garden, but I think we should get a good harvest. Obviously it's been very dry, so it'll be interesting to see how big the tubers are. This bed is the one I interplanted the oca with the straw flowers. The straw flowers are struggling a little bit now. They are going over. We shall see when we come to harvest the oca how they managed being interplanted with the straw flowers. This was all straw flowers, and I mean, I'll do tons and tons of straw flowers again next year. Claire was talking about straw flowers on So Chatty a week or so ago, and they are just the most fantastic flowers. If you can get them going, which is the hard bit, then yeah, they keep giving all season. Absolutely wonderful. Final bed, more beetroot, of course, also carrots that haven't done particularly well. The trouble with the raised beds, of course, is they get dry, and if you don't water them enough, things don't grow. I did have the chamomile along here. I'm hoping that it is self-seeded everywhere. Talking of self-seeding though, chamomile was awesome, but self-seeding on this side is the amaranth. There was one amaranth plant in here right at the beginning of the season. There are now several plants in this area, and they're coming up in the path and over on Mark's beds over there. They spread lovely, and it's made me think, actually, plant amaranth early, let it spread, and you'll get 2 lots. As well as the amaranth, something else that readily self-seeds is tree spinach, and I should really cut this down sooner rather than later because it is going to seed. But this is the fruit tree guild. So everything in here is designed to support the fruit trees that I've got. The pear tree, oh, the pears that were on that were absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, I missed the window for picking, so they'd all fallen to the floor and got a little bit damaged, but I did get to eat most of them. The apples are still on here. I should have thinned these so much more. They are teeny tiny apples, although they were last year as well. This is the Elster. Loads more apples than I got last year though. And there's an apple tree at the end there that didn't do very well, didn't get any fruit on. I think at this point, you name it, it's growing in this bed. I've put so much stuff in here. There's all the strawberries, there's raspberries. I've just noticed actually that the Shagana raspberry there is fruiting. Yes, so I shall pick some of those. We've got cosmos in here, there is agastache, there is rosemary, there is yarrow, there is borage, there is hollyhocks all along the back. There are garlic going to seed there. Yeah, there's herbs, there's vegetable mallow, chives, foxgloves. Don't think I put those in though. Brilliant, I love it. Absolutely loving it. Oh, and comfrey. There's comfrey in here too. And globe artichoke growing there in between the comfrey. As we come towards the polytunnel, I've got these 4 raised beds. That's got the jostaberry and strawberries in. This was kind of a root veg bed this year, but I'm thinking about what I want to do with these beds. This one will stay as the Jerusalem artichoke. This is the dwarf Jerusalem artichoke. The plants look absolutely beautiful. I'm hoping there's plenty of tubers under there as well. And then right at the end is the courgette bed. 5 courgettes in here. To be honest, pretty much everyone would tell you 5 courgettes is ridiculous. You should never grow that many. I actually have 8. We missed a bed back there. So yeah, that is not recommended. Having said that, I've not had an influx. I've not had a huge glut, and yeah, I've given some away, but I can see 1, 2, there's only a couple on there at the moment. I know it's going towards the end now anyway, but what I'm trying to say is I'm glad I planted as many as I did. Tortondine kale in the back there. Oh, and this is a bucket of potatoes from last year. So these should have been harvested this time last year. They stayed in the polytunnel all over winter. They grew again throughout this season. They are ready to harvest again, only they've started growing again. This poor bucket. These are, I believe, not Sarpamira. No, I lied. They are Sarpamira. I'm just going to skip back to this bed that we missed because I wanted to mention the patty pans. I had 5 patty pan plants, that's hard to say, as well as all the courgette plants. And those have been quite prolific, and yeah, too many of those. And I don't know that I'm that keen on them. They look really nice, but if I'm cooking, a courgette is just so much easier and they taste the same, I think. So yeah, I may strike patty pans from the list for next year. The other thing is sweet corn, which I have not had much success with this year, not my fault, but I did harvest the cobs that were on here and there were a few kernels that were usable. And I cooked them up yesterday and I tasted one just out of the pan and I was like, oh my God, they are so good, so good. So I want to have a proper sweet corn harvest next year. So more focus on sweet corn next year. And I have my replacement seed from King's, from the one that was a bad batch. So yeah, sweet corn next year. Right, we'll come back to the polytunnel in a moment. Let's just check the back of the plot. Probably the most noticeable thing here is that the entire area is absolutely covered in damsons. And the damsons from these trees have just, to be honest, they've been a little bit of a nightmare because of course they attract flies and wasps as well. You're always skidding on them under feet. There are far too many on our 3 plots than we can eat or give away. But the beds that I put in here have done remarkably well. Got more potatoes here. These are the main crop, King Edward. They have still got some growth on, so I shall leave those a little bit longer. The rhubarb is established. This brassica bed is doing fine, probably a bit close together. I did put radish in between, they've gone to seed. I'm just going to let those flower. Chard, excellent. I harvested some of that last week. It's still sitting there. I forgot to take it home. So we'll harvest some more of that. And then this bed back here, this is supposed to be the nursery bed. So I put a load of little seedlings in here. I covered them because pigeons were interested. Now everything's growing over the covers, so we'll perhaps take those off. But I don't know if I can get those off actually. Oh, but we have Cavolo Nero in here, and that's something I've so missed this year, is Cavolo Nero. It's another one that's on the must grow for next year. The brassicas this year have been, yeah, a mixed bag really. Whoops, harvest that one in a bit. Oh, I've had brussels and cabbages, which I've never been able to grow before. And yet the things that I'm usually fine with, which is kale and calabrese, not too bad with those. Nah, done terrible with those this year. So anyway, this was supposed to be a nursery bed. Things have just decided to grow in here. They haven't decided, I just didn't move them. But I could move some of these things into the polytunnel when it's time to replant that for the winter. We'll see. I do have more brassicas in the bed and weeds. Oh my goodness, look at that. Can I get that? Oh, there's a lot of netting here. Let's pull that out. Come on, stop seeding everywhere. That's better. These are mostly calabrese, I think. So, okay, I have got some of those plants. Again, there are plums everywhere. That's better. I did put in between these as well, carrots, coriander, dill. None of those really grew that well. I think perhaps it was a bit shady in this spot, but that has not stopped the brassicas or the tree spinach. Nothing stops tree spinach. And last but not least, again, weeds. Blaming weeds. Oh, actually, as well as weeds, we have in here, yeah, we have the sea kale. Was the sea kale, wasn't it? Was it the sea kale? Did I label? No, I didn't. Oh yeah, I did. Sea kale. It's a sea kale. They've had the bags on because of pigeons. But if I take that off now, we can see it's taken. In fact, there's 2 plants there, I think. So I could take some more cuttings or split those, but yeah, that's good. I've got those other cuttings in the greenhouse at home as well. So yeah, plenty of sea kale. I'm glad that that plant wasn't lost because it was quite expensive. This is the mashua, talking of expensive things. It has not done as well as I'd hoped. This one is almost up to the top of the pole. I don't know that there's going to be much under there. This maybe wasn't the best place for it. I really struggled to just find anywhere for it when it was ready to go in the ground. We'll rethink that again for next year, I think. But the other thing in here is some ochre, and then I've got the little pond, which is still in here. There we go. The water's not looking great because of all the plums that have fallen into it. So we'll give it a clean and a tidy at some point. But the nasturtiums are kind of hiding one of the other special things in here, which is this dandelion. Now you might be thinking, a dandelion isn't special, Kerry, pull it out. But this particular dandelion is a pink dandelion, and I put it there so I would know where it was and didn't just weed it out. So far, no flower. And that leaves us then with the polytunnel and well, there are 60 of my 72 tomatoes in here. And yeah, still looking really healthy. Doing the big prune a couple of weeks ago has made a massive difference to the ripening. Obviously, we did a really big haul last week. You can see I've started already on another big one today while it was raining earlier. And if you feel like I've been rushing through this tour, it's one, because it's a big plot and there's a lot to get through. And I know that the last time I did this, it turned into a long video. But also because it's been raining on and off all day and I'm trying to get it done before the rain comes again. But yes, I'm really, really pleased with this. The basil is still doing absolutely fantastic. It is flowering, but I just keep pinching that out and it keeps bushing out. Obviously, I'm an expert at growing chickweed, but also the sweet potatoes are going just like Billy-O. They are loving life. They've filled this corner. I haven't got any flowers. Claire's got the most beautiful little flowers on hers, but alas, none of those here. On this side, this cucumber plant, well, it's a gherkin plant. It's called Venlo gherkin, I think. It has pushed out so many gherkins that is definitely a variety that I want to grow again next year. But yeah, of course, the star of the show in here are the tomatoes. So let's do our little taste test. This is the Galapagos. Now, I taught last week about this being called Cerise Galapagos, but it's yellow, and surely that can't be right. However, I have since learnt, and thank you to on the screen who told me, in French, cerise means cherry. So it just means it's a cherry tomato. So this is just a Galapagos tomato, which is a wild tomato. And though I've cordoned it, really it should just grow wild. I think it's great because there are so many fruits on it. So there is a size difference to the Barry's Crazy Cherry, but is there a taste difference? Okay, here we go. Barry's Crazy Cherry. No competition. I guess it's what you would expect. Barry's Crazy Cherry has been bred. You know, it's bred for taste and whatever else, but I like this because it is the wild plant, but yeah, taste-wise, Barry's Crazy Cherry's got it. Right, rain stopped play for a moment there, but it looks like it might stay dry for a little bit just to finish off this plot tour. I really prefer doing plot tours when the sun is shining, but needs must. Now, I think most of you know that this plot is my brother-in-law's plot. Well, actually, we share the two plots in their entirety because of the infrastructure at the back, the compost bins and the shed and everything. But we divide it into two growing spaces. So this is Mark's half. He has the little orchard bit at the front of the plot as well. He's put in a polytunnel and a greenhouse, and then he's got all these beds to grow in. He's had some successes this year. He did well with his sweet corn, so that was good, and really good with beans as well. We've all been eating those beans this year. He's also been growing the most wonderful looking marrows. Marrows has never been on my list of something to grow, but yeah, Mark's been growing those this year. Now, when we took on this big plot and divide it into two, what we didn't expect is that we would also be taking on the entirety of this plot. So another strip all the way down to the end here, which wasn't actually the original plan. We were just having the end bit, but then the person who had this side gave it up. So now we've got this entire corner of the allotment. And this strip then is really my sister's. So this plot is in her name, and she has claimed everything, including the greenhouse mansion, which she's sitting in right now. And this is where she's been growing flowers this year. Obviously, this was just covered in black plastic. There is so much infrastructure that has had to be put in here. Mark worked really hard on it this year, and she has grown the most enormous sunflowers. I mean, not only are they so tall, but the heads on them are massive. These are called Sunflower Titan, and Mark was really keen to grow these and wants to save seed from them, but my sister, less impressed. So everything on this side of the plot, up to the greenhouse mansion, is my sister's growing space, but everything after that is Mark's growing space that's in addition to what he already has on our plots. So this part is developed and planted up. He's got beans, tomatoes, chard, pumpkins. What else you got in there, Mark? There's pretty much everything crammed into those beds. But then this area is still in development. The idea being that everything on this side will mirror the same as on my sister's side. So the same sort of raised beds with the, what's this called? Pea gravel in between. So the beds are made. And well, this is what Mark's been doing today, which is putting the pea gravel in between the beds. Some of it's planted up, so mustards, radish, pear tree, and then of course there's another greenhouse, and in this greenhouse there are apricot trees. So yeah, 2 apricot trees, and he's been planting this up, and this was done really recently. So yeah, winter crops in here. And here's the man himself. Are you happy with how this has developed, Mark?
So far, yeah, I believe so. I think when it's done and we've got the remaining parts of the beds in, the paths in, I think it'll feel much better. Visually, it will look better as well.
Now, it's not just Mark who grows on this side of the plot. Francis has his own area as well, which has just recently had a big makeover. So what have you done in this area, Francis?
I've completely obliterated everything that was there.
And what was it? What did you grow this year?
Carrots and potatoes.
You cleared it? You
Put
dug
soil
it?
over it.
Yeah? And you
Weeded it.
weeded it, made the beds, put the little path in?
A lot of weeding.
Yeah. And what are you going to grow in these beds?
All around this bed
Yep.
and around this bed, we've got white and black Japanese onions.
Oh.
You can see the tops poking out of them.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. So you got onions around the edge. And why did you put onions around the edge?
Stop the pests, the bugs and stuff.
Okay, to deter bugs from what you're going to plant in the middle. And what are you going to plant in the middle, do you think?
Potatoes and carrots.
I think they're your favourite, aren't they?
I'm actually taking over this hat plot.
Yes.
To hopefully grow some Atlantic giants on there.
Atlantic giant pumpkins.
Yep. Big
Yep.
ones.
We saw them in the shop, didn't we? And you were like, I want to grow that. You think that's enough space for it?
I feel like we're able to. We're going to probably plant like a good 3 seeds in there.
You
but
think 3 will fit in?
I feel like I don't think 3 was fitting, but I feel like one of them won't grow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's good to have
So
a backup.
I'll probably have like one smaller one, and then I'll just have this massive one. That's my hope.
Okay, well, we shall see
Yep.
next year. Yeah. And do you think you're going to be an allotment holder when you grow up? You're going to have a whole plot?
I feel like I'll take somebody's plot, but I'm not. I don't think I'll have a massive plot like this.
No,
I'll probably take like a small
a
one.
baby plot, a baby plot. Okay, very
Yeah,
good,
small one.
Francis. You've done really well this year. We're very proud of you. There we go. A full plot tour at the end of the season, and not just my plot, all the family's plots. It's not over yet, but I'm glad that I captured the plot as it is right now before things start going over and we start taking them out. So thank you for joining me this week. Hope to see you next week. Take care.